Frumess talks about Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Let's all talk about Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Okay, Sheepskin, man. This one's streaming on Tubi TV, and it's another one that's been in my queue forever. So the theme emerging this year is rewatches from a really, really, really long time ago that feel like almost like a first viewing, and movies that have just languished in my queue for over a decade that I'm finally getting around to watch. I've been waiting to watch Sheepskin for over a decade. Same thing, just like I've been waiting to see Phantom of the Mall as well as Evil Speak. And now here, finally getting to watch Sheepskin, which is a micro budget film. Budget's $25,000. I always take note of that because I always find it to be interesting when a budget is really, really low, just to see what they do with it. Stephen Biro from Unearthed Films put out this film, and I'm really glad that he did. I love the poster art. Really like just draws you in. Sheepskin with man, you look at that thing and you go, whoa. Really great painting of Sheepskin. Earlier this month, I discussed my love for what are they doing with the bodies at the morgue when we were talking about Play Dead, our first watch of the year. I love those kinds of setups, and I feel a similar affinity for, is it actually the thing? ? There is plenty of reasonable doubt setups. So again, let me just repeat that one more time. It's kind of like what you have in the Nicolas Cage, Ron Perlman movie, Season of the Witch. Is she a witch? Is she not a witch? Like the benefit of the doubt, we're not really sure. There's reasonable doubt not to believe, like we can't tell what is actually happening. Is this actually the thing? There's plenty of reasonable doubt. In this case, those types of setups, I'm a sucker for them, man. In this case, it's utilized here when a punk band is convinced that a man is a werewolf, and they kidnap him to prove it. So they kidnap this guy and they bring him to this room, this underground room, bunker type place. And they interrogate him, trying to prove that he is a werewolf and that he killed the leader of the punk band's sister, who everybody knew and loved. So these 4 members of this band, and I will say the one thing that annoyed me was, we didn't really get to know the punk band very well. One of the things that annoyed me, there were a couple things that annoyed me. I really, really, really like this film. I have a lot of respect for this movie. I really do. I really think everybody should check it out. It's very short too, man. It's like 75 minutes or something. It's really short. It goes really to the point, and I appreciated that. I always appreciate that. It's a self-contained, high-concept story with shades of Reservoir Dogs. So if you like Reservoir Dogs, you will appreciate this film. And it's also the perfect example of a premise with a hook that can be pulled off with minimal resources. And that is exactly what the director, Curtis Spieler, mostly manages to do with Sheepskin. So he manages to pull this off with quite clearly minimum resources. And he does a fantastic job with it. The story is lean and it gets right to the point, which I really didn't mind, but I also would have really loved 10 or 15 minutes more of character development. So even though this movie's 75 minutes, I would be totally fine if this movie was like 90 minutes and we got a little bit more, development around everybody. All the characters are a little bit more fleshed out. We learn a little bit more about the punk band. We learn a little bit more, just like everybody. Like I feel like there wasn't enough characterization, and that didn't stop the decisions being made from not feeling earned. They all felt earned, but I just felt like some additional backstory would have really further solidified it, if that makes any sense. And what's funny is that 10 to 15 minutes that I kind of was hoping of character development, it might exist, but here's the thing. This guy, Curtis, who wrote and directed this movie, he also works as an editor, and he might have decided to cut away the fat, he might have had like a real editor's mindset and just trimmed it too thin. Like I said, the movie works. You could tell. You could tell that this dude is an editor and that he knows how to edit something. But I would have liked a little bit more meat on the bone. Here's the thing that I did have a lot of trouble with. I'm sorry to say this, but I have to admit it. I did have some trouble with the performances of most of the actors in this film. I'm sorry, man. And that's what happens in low micro budget type movies, man. Just sometimes the performances are just, they could be really thin, or they could just be wooden or not convincing. And in this case, they just were not convincing for me. They didn't all quite work for me as a viewer. But here's the other thing too. They didn't get in the way of my enjoyment and appreciation of the craft and effort that was put forth in this film. So it's like, it's a little bit of everything. I don't have a list of filmmakers who I would want to give $1 million to remake their micro budget films and scale it up. But if I did, Curtis would be at the top of my list with Sheepskin, hands down. I highly, highly, highly recommend anyone who is looking to make indie films to watch this movie. It's available on Tubi. So this is definitely something you got to check out. We could have used a little bit. You know what else we could have had? We could have had a little bit more werewolf mythology in it. Just like a little bit more sort of stuff that was just missing. And listen, the thing that it does better than anything else is it does the Reservoir Dog thing really, really well. So if you like Reservoir Dogs, then